Wakabe has just released Arc 8 Chapter 39, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. Cecilus Secret is a stargazer. Vincent created a position for the stargazer. This position is held by Ublik, who was once a male prostitute. Those who become a stargazer are given a strong desire to fulfill their goal. It's such a strong compulsion that it can lead to a male prostitute to waltz into a castle and speak their mind, or to make a mother abandon their daughter, or even to make a skilled swordsman to contemplate ending their own life. Many stargazers have had their lives twisted by fate. However, despite their lives being twisted, they do not see it as a tragedy. Rowan Segment was an exception. His ambition and his given commandment aligned, so his life wasn't really twisted to a large extent. We already know Rowan's journey, but at the end of the journey, Cecilus was born, and Cecilus was also a stargazer. Cecilus Secret is the only stargazer who is out of bounds. The scene changes. With the hem of his clothes fluttering, he stares out at the city. Ao's plan was to destroy the 5 different summits encasing the royal capital. By piercing through the defenses, it allows more actors to join the stage for the audience to watch. It was good foreshadowing, so he had to do a humble job. Wherever you are in the world, you are on the stage. It is hard to explain Cecilus's philosophy, but he's not cut out for this style of work, so he often goes missing. It's strange for the star actor to not be present all the time. Cecilus looks up at the sky and he talks, saying he's sure the audience agrees with him, right? The black clouds looming over would normally not give a response to others, but Cecilus is the star of the world, and a voice whispers to Cecilus, stern and divine. The voice pierces Cecilus's ears. Editor's note, we can't actually read what the voice is saying, it's just like garbled text, like symbols. Cecilus could always remember these voices. They were always there, telling him what to do or say. Cecilus laughs, saying that the audience is truly happy today, keeping an eye on him. He tells the audience to keep watching and he will surprise them. Cecilus never does what the voices say. Cecilus is different to the other stargazers. He doesn't obey the voices telling him what to do. Groovy tells Cecilus to shut up and stop muttering to himself. Cecilus tells Groovy to stop swearing as it lowers your dignity, and if they fight together and they die together, they should have dignity. Cecilus can also tell that Groovy is pretty strong. Groovy says that it's all Chisha's fault. Cecilus asks Groovy who that is, but Groovy just simply says it's his fault if he has forgotten. Cecilus understood that some of the things did not add up. His father, for example, had aged, and his nickname of the Blue Lightning had struck fear in his enemies despite him not using the nickname yet. However, it's hard to believe that this Chisha fellow had made him small. Groovy asks Cecilus if he believes that shrinking is impossible. Cecilus, however, says that he does believe it's possible, but he doesn't understand how someone would be able to do that to him. Of course, Cecilus was human. If you cut his neck, his blood would spill and he would die. He was not immortal or invincible. But who could do that to him? Groovy, however, says that Cecilus was probably careless. Cecilus tells Groovy to wait 10 years and to wait till he grows up, but Groovy says who's going to wait for 10 years and tells Cecilus to go back to normal. Cecilus doesn't know how, and Groovy simply says that knowing Chisha, there's probably a condition to release it. Ao, however, interrupts their conversation, and he stands at the top of the staircase. We see that Ao was left downstairs. while Cecilus and Groovy observed the walls of the Imperial capital to find their objective. Since they were taking so long, Aldebaran came up to see what the issue was. We see that they decided that apexes 2 and 3 seem to be the most viable targets, with apexes 4 and 5, the south ones, being the weakest. However, we see that Cecilus points out that Al is a bit of a schemer. Al tenses up. We see that the 2 apexes that are the weakest, the 2 southern ones, are more likely to be a trap. And he just so happened to send Heinkel and Rowan to those towers. In other words, to use them to attract attention whilst they attack the more valuable towers. This was Aldebaran's plan, to prioritize their targets. Cecilus says, isn't Heinkel a friend of his? And Al says that he isn't a hero and he must focus on the objective. Cecilus mutters, saying Al isn't like the boss. Cecilus says that just because it's true at the time doesn't mean it's true now. Al is confused and says he is different to his brother. Cecilus says that it's fine to be different. Cecilus says that Aldebaran is tougher than his boss. Cecilus goes on to say, boss struggles against death in a muddy way, but chooses a way that looks beautiful on the stage. Aldebaran, however, fights dirty and makes people want to turn their backs on him. It's not about superiority, it's about the difference. Cecilus, however, will go along with Aldebaran's plan. His only issue is that it's a very bad plan. Al states that they should go to Tower 2 or 3 before deciding to go to Tower 3, whilst also stating that they should avoid the area with the sniper. Cecilus, however, wants to get revenge, but Groovy shouts at him, saying that now he's smaller, he's even more effed up than normal. Cecilus says that doesn't really sound like a compliment. The scene changes. The travel to the third apex was smooth. Undead did appear, but they were ignored. If they blocked the way, they would of course be eliminated. After all, why would they be allowed on the stage? They were just simply extras, and there was no point in adding them for extra stage atmosphere. Cecilus says that the audience's attention is finite, stating that there are supporting actors that can raise the quality of the story, but whether or not they are wanted is another matter. We also see that Aldebaran is carrying Groovy and Cecilus. Cecilus is on his back and Groovy is on his stomach, so they essentially are sandwiching Aldebaran. Aldebaran is wearing a cloak over them. We see that so far, even though undead did appear, none of them attacked Aldebaran and the group. The cloak Al wore was something that Groovy provided. This cloak concealed their presence. We see that Groovy gave a cloak to Rowan and Heinkel, which is how they all entered the city in the first place, and it's the reason why it simply couldn't be replicated. Al asked Groovy where he bought it, but Groovy said that he simply made it, and told Cecilus he also reforged Cecilus's demon sword. Al asks if it's a magical item cloak, but Groovy says that it's werewolf skin. Al says that he's heard of werewolves, but he's never seen one. Groovy says that if you skin them alive, their blessing stays on. The blessing of cloud cover. However, Groovy says that it should be called the blessing of the deceiver. However, Aldebaran stops in place, and Cecilus also tenses up. Thorns have appeared on their chest. Have they been seen by the enemy despite being beneath the werewolf skin? They ask Groovy his opinion, and Groovy recognizes that it's a curse that was probably being flung in random directions at a range. The thorns on their chest began to blossom. They were about to feel the full effect of the curse. Cecilus smiles and states he knew the world would not let him sneak around, and he will face this with a bang. He stated this just before the heart-throbbing pain seized him. And with that, the chapter ends. So this is really interesting as a chapter. So Cecilus is also a stargazer, but he doesn't follow the orders of the heavenly commandment. Well, so I'm wondering what's going on. I believe Stride Valakia was also a stargazer that did not follow the commands as well. That's the reason why he doesn't like observers. But yeah, interesting chapter. Werewolves have a blessing apparently, which makes them hard to spot. So again, I do think Todd is alive because he was in werewolf form. So he's probably got the blessing active, which is the reason why he won't be found by like the undead, for example.